Next on Arizona Horizon, the family of a foreign aid worker from Arizona confirmed her death today. We'll discuss dangers faced by aid workers. The Arizona SciTech Festival is coming up soon, and see how horses are being used to help kids get their self-esteem back in the saddle. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Steve Goldstein in for Ted Simons. Arizona Governor Doug Ducey this afternoon fired the head of the state's Department of Child Safety created last year. In a press briefing today, Ducey did not give a reason as to why he fired Charles Flanagan, who was highly regarded in the child welfare community. Ducey replaced Flanagan with Greg McKay, a police investigator who uncovered thousands of uninvestigated child abuse cases that eventually led to the creation of the Department of Child Safety. Flanagan was notified an hour before the press conference that he would be replaced, and he expressed regret at not being able to finish the work he started at the department. After days of uncertainty, the U.S. government and her family confirmed today that Kayla Mueller of Prescott is dead. Mueller was kidnapped by ISIS in Syria while working for Doctors Without Borders in 2013. ISIS claims she was killed in a Jordanian airstrike in Syria, a claim that U.S. officials say is not confirmed. Here to talk about what it's like for foreign aid workers in the Middle East and more is Dr. Paul Kinzinger, Clinical Professor of Business Intelligence at the Thunderbird School of Global Management at Arizona State University. Paul, welcome.
Thank you.
What are the expectations that aid workers can and should have when they enter into realms like Syria?
Well, this is a big question these days. I think the game is changing. It's begun to change in the last several years, but aid workers and indeed media representatives are becoming targets in what is essentially an asymmetrical war these days. Groups like ISIS and others before them in different spots in Africa and so on and so forth have actually seen these people not as neutral players who are there to take care of the kind of collateral damage, quote unquote, caused by civil wars and strife like this in terms of caring for refugees and trying to bring an objective perspective to what's actually going on. They see them more as pawns in a game, and that could be either pawns designed to earn them money through ransom, which is a big part of what ISIS has been doing, or a way to try to get at where the West or developed countries are weak and vulnerable in their perceptions in terms of turning public opinion in places like the United States against any action the United States would contemplate taking.
How open do our eyes have to be, and how open do the eyes of someone like Kayla Mueller have to be when she's clearly going there for humanitarian reasons? She wants to do good, but we can't be naive about these things either.
No, we can't. Unfortunately, the world has changed in some very difficult ways from where it was, say, 50, 60 years ago. And I think, unfortunately, people with the goals of trying to do some of these things have to have their eyes open as to the precariousness of the potential situation they go into. These, as we know, during the unfolding of the Syrian civil war, 2011, 2012, 2013, the situation was extremely fluid. In many parts of the country, were being traded weekly, sometimes daily, who controlled them, and certainly the roads and other ways to get around Syria were being moved from government hands to rebel hands to different kinds of rebel groups, so on and so forth. So unless you had an extraordinary on-the-ground ability to understand these things, you were taking a fairly high risk to be in doing any of these kinds of activities at the time. Hence, a number of people were kidnapped, both people in the aid community and in the journalist community.
How closely do U.S. agencies communicate with groups like a Doctors Without Borders to sort of say, almost like, here's a primer on what you need to know and be careful?
You know, the State Department and other organizations make an effort to try to raise awareness among these groups as best we can. We, in certain circumstances, try to prevent the movement of Americans with American passports. There are certain countries that you cannot go to legally, and there have been over recent history in the Middle East, places you are not only warned not to go to, but are told you cannot go here legally on this passport. That said, you know, people who want to go will find a way, and they often do. So in essence, you can make them as aware as possible. You can brief them. You can give them the lay of the land. But if they're really bent on getting to where they want to go in one of these situations, they're probably going to do it.
And how about the communication with a terrorist group like ISIS? Some of us who are lay people were surprised that ISIS was in direct contact with Kayla Mueller's parents.
Yeah.
How does something like that come to be, and how much is that changing?
Well, I think this gets back to the discussion a little earlier around ransom. It's pretty clear that ISIS has grabbed a lot of people in Syria, largely for purposes of ransom, and they have made some real headway with many, many countries around the world that have paid. Many of our European allies do not have the same no ransom policy as the United States and the United Kingdom. They do pay and have paid, have a history of it. Same with some other countries in Asia will do this too. So this has been actually a pretty lucrative enterprise for ISIS, and while we know they've been financing themselves through knocking over some banks in Iraq and having access to oil sales out of northern Iraq and out of Syria, still a lucrative little ransom business can't hurt, and they've found that it's been quite good. So I think initially the idea for a lot of the hostage taking was around, can we actually turn this into dollars for us? And I suspect that one of the first things they do is ask their hostages, so what's your contact information, what's your internet, email address, so on and so forth, how do you reach people, show us your Facebook account, show us your LinkedIn, whatever there is in the social media, give us access to these things, and we will then both mine it for information about who you might really be, i.e. are you a spy, and then secondly, we'll use it to reach out to people who care about you and who will potentially pay for you. So I have no doubt that there was some private channel communication from ISIS to the families of hostages they have to do exactly that. They're probably using their email accounts.
What about the perspective that Kayla was a young woman, and do we have expectations that terrorist groups will treat females any different than they treat males?
In the Middle East, this has, of course, long been an issue of concern. What would happen if women were also taken hostage? And as far back as the fall of the American embassy in Tehran in 1979, 1980, there were a small group of women as part of that contingent of Americans taken there. There were concerns in Washington at the time. What would happen to the women? Would they be treated any differently? It turned out they were actually treated better for the most part. I think our history in looking at these issues in the Middle East has been that groups like ISIS do take a different look at women. They don't treat them as harshly. They don't hold as many of them. They're not as natural a target. However, obviously they must have felt there was the possibility for some ransom here, and they're going to hold on to her until they see if there's any real potential value, either getting money from the family or in some kind of political value in terms of turning the social media screws on the United States.
Your mention of Iran makes me want to go back to late 70s, early 80s, when of course we had the discovery later on that there was the Iran-Contra situation, but the U.S. doesn't negotiate with terrorists.
Right.
How complicated is that, especially when we're dealing with terrorists that again are not representing a particular country?
Yes, no, it's enormously complicated, more than probably the vast majority of Americans can even ever comprehend. Having been in the U.S. government during that time in the late 70s, early 80s, on through Iran-Contra in that period, and having seen all the contortions the U.S. government went through to try to get hostages released out of Lebanon at the time, when journalists, doctors, teachers, educators, and others were being held by Hezbollah, so on and so forth. The gyrations that were gone through, both in terms of negotiating in some very, very discreet way, to constantly looking for ways to get into mount a rescue operation, which is extraordinarily difficult as well. The chances that these things work out are really very, very slim. It's not like the movies, unfortunately. Real life is not like the movies in this case. And the government has to try. It's going to do whatever it can, but it's pretty hard to pull rabbits out of a hat, which is pretty much what like a lot of these things are. Particularly, ISIS and these guys are fully aware that rescue operations are being looked at all the time, that their every movement is being monitored. I have little doubt that these hostages, among others, have been moved constantly, and that there's been constant confusing signals sent out as to where they are at any given time. That's how they do it.
Paul, as people are heartbroken about what happened to Kayla Mueller, and we're hearing from members of Congress who, in many cases, like to make big, broad statements.
Yeah.
Does something like this, considering the fact that it's a young woman, a young American woman, do you expect this to change how the U.S. approaches going after ISIS?
Probably not. Not in the long run. I think there'll be a certain burst of sympathy and concern around this, and probably some further discussion around the role of women in these kinds of adventures, Doctors Without Borders and others. But frankly, this is the way of the world today, and I suspect we're going to see more of these kinds of situations, and young women, middle-aged women, mature people are going to find themselves in harm's way out there trying to do good in different parts of the world where simply what has been considered part of the rules of strife have been expanded to the very edges of what's going to be done by these guys.
I'm asking for a brief answer on this final question.
Yeah.
But when you look at the Middle East right now, which always seems to be in flux, compared with 20 and 30 years ago, does it feel more dangerous to you?
It feels more dangerous largely because you have fewer clear lines drawn in the sand over the origins of the conflict. For 30 years, it was pretty much the Arab-Israeli conflict, but a lot of that is actually still there, but it's being overshadowed by these looser, less clearly defined conflicts now that are breaking out in the absence of strong states.
Dr. Paul Kinzinger, thanks for joining us in Arizona Horizon.
Happy to help, thanks.
In tonight's Arizona Technology and Innovation segment, the Arizona SciTech Festival has grown into Arizona's largest event, featuring science, technology, and innovation with over 800 events in 45 cities and towns. Here to talk about the festival is Jeremy Babender, Executive Director of the Arizona SciTech Festival. Jeremy, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Give us some background. This thing is really growing.
Yeah, this is now our 4th season, and what's been most impressive is that communities are really making it their own. So when we started out, there was about 200 events, and we had places like Chandler, Tempe, all working to create events like a Chandler Science Saturday. We had one in Tempe called the Geeks Night Out event. And what's happened is communities have started to really embrace this and bring collaborators from business, education, community, and government to really address larger issues related to innovation and science in their regions. And it's now grown to involve communities all the way out to like Safford, Arizona, to Verde Valley, all the way down to Sahuarita, and so it's really become a statewide engagement.
So people are really enthusiastic about it. There must be some little challenges as you go along as you grow. Can you talk about some of those?
I think part of it is, the time, being able to support them. What's fun about it is each of the community kind of makes it their own, and it's almost like a sleuth where you try to figure out, well, they might have a science and technology festival that exists. How do you really figure out what are the science and technology assets that they might have, and really helping them realize that they can do it. And so you might have somebody who, so for example, my background, I have a PhD in biotech. And so people might say, okay, I'm a science professional. But you could take somebody who's an auto mechanic or somebody who might be a cook. and their science, their chemistry of cooking. There's a whole thick book about the organic chemistry of cooking. Helping them realize that they have this skill set is really fun, but also getting them to be self-empowered, that they have that ability to talk about science.
I'm glad you brought up the word fun, though, because when it comes to a festival, I don't think people realize how science and technology are such an everyday part of what we do because we take so much of it for granted.
Right.
So how do you make it fun so that the generations are all interested in this?
So one of the facets we like to talk about is the idea called sneaky science. And so, for example, we work to sneak it into existing opportunities. So Glendale has a chocolate affair that we've been working with each year at the festival. We work with them to do the science of chocolate. Or in Scottsdale, there's an event now called Baseball City. And so we have professors from ASU that talk about, does the fastball rise? Or, they have one where they break the myth about putting a weighted, if you weight your bat, does it actually affect your swing? And so there's ways to really look at, things that are fun and meet our motivations and really increase people's interest and engagement meeting that.
I thought that weighted bat thing was true. I used to put a donut on my bat to
Yeah.
make me feel stronger when I took it off.
Yeah, and so
You're
they
saying
actually
that's
have
not
an
true?
event where, they actually find that, it actually is not true. In some people, they found it was the opposite.
Wow.
And so more to psychology, it's more of a psychological thing and a historical, hey, I just always put this on my bat to swing quicker.
So how much involvement do you have personally in what's going on? I mean, how many places do you have to be?
So during the festival event, I try to go to as many events as possible, and as we get more and more, it's just virtually impossible to be there. And so I really try to jump between many events. For example, on Saturday, February 21st, there's 13 major events happening. And so there's a Buckeye Air Fair, and there's a Chandler Science Spectacular, and there's an event in Tucson called the Family Sci-Fest. I just can't be this many places at once. And so we're trying to get our team to go out there, but it's so fun to see it, but there's so much to do. And I think that's a good thing for our culture. People can't do everything, but maybe next year they'll attend a different event and really learn different aspects of how science and technology are part of everything that we do.
So as the SciTech Festival grows, how do you measure success, and do you measure it differently than you would have in past years?
So each year we take basic metrics. So you can look at how many people attend the events. You can look at people's, did you have a good time? We even do a follow-up survey to people to talk about behavioral outcomes. Did you talk to somebody about the festival afterwards? Did you follow up with a local company? But one thing that's interesting is you talk to places, when you look at more like, are we making an impact on the economic footprint, you look at communities like Chandler, and for example, the economic development officer can talk about that they've actually been able to recruit companies to Chandler because of the brand and identity that it helps to establish in Chandler. And so we're starting to see that the festival really helps to establish long-term relationships and build rapport in communities that really can have a longer-term impact on their business and business and innovation ecosystem, as well as the collaborations between cities, educators, and the community.
Now, with a series of events like this, how important is it to grab people almost right after it, as opposed to thinking, well, there's one in a year. Let's make
Right.
people excited about this. Are there incremental things going on?
Some things that we try to do, so for example, we have some conversations with communities that are still on the fence trying to figure it out. So we met with Fountain Hills and they're interested, or Coolidge. Now's a great time because they can go and really build their collaborative and go and attend some other events. And so maybe they go to the Buckeye Air Fair and say, okay, we want to take this element and integrate it into maybe it's a salsa festival or whatever it might be. And so it's a great time to grab them. It's just a matter of trying to balance all the logistics. And so are we trying to attend the events? Are we trying to recruit people? There's a lot of things going on at once. But
Jeremy, finally, briefly, how much bigger do you think this can get?
Ideally, how do you really have the festival be almost like an Earth Day for science and technology? How do you help it reach everybody in their own communities?
Jeremy Badminter, thanks so much.
Sure. Thank you for the time.
Expand your horizon with the Arizona Horizon website. To get there, go to azpbs.org. Click on the Arizona Horizon tab at the top of the screen. Once there, you can access many features. Watch interviews by clicking on the video button. You can also find out what's on Arizona Horizon for the coming week. If you would like an RSS feed, a podcast, or want to buy a video, that's all on the website too. Want to learn about specific topics like immigration or the legislature? You can visit our special web sections. Show your support for Arizona Horizon at azpbs.org/Arizona Horizon. Get the inside scoop on what's happening at Arizona PBS. Become an 8 Insider. You'll receive weekly updates on the most anticipated upcoming programs and events. Get the 8 Insider delivered to your email inbox. Visit azpbs.org to sign up today.
In today's Giving and Leading segment, a look at a program that is helping children build self-esteem and self-worth. Producer Shauna Fisher and photographer Steve Aaron take us to Raining Grace Ranch.
On the outskirts of North Scottsdale sits Raining Grace Ranch. It's miles away from the real world, and that's exactly what the kids who come to the ranch need.
Being able to connect with the horses, just really nice.
Maggie is one of a dozen kids who come out here every Saturday to interact with the horses and in turn learn about themselves. All of the kids have emotional issues that make them easy targets at school for bullying or ripe for trouble at home. But here at the ranch, they learn how to deal with those feelings.
The kids come here and they work together with our horses, and they grow together.
Raining Grace's owner, Amanda Moore, has worked with children her entire life, first as a teacher and now as a life coach. Amanda and her husband, Chris, bought the ranch for the sole purpose of helping children who were vulnerable. They knew horses were the key.
We always say actions speak louder than words. And so the horses see that, and they can automatically scan a person and know where they are by the way they're carrying themselves, by the way they're breathing, everything. So you don't even need to tell me, because the horse is going to mirror that, because that's what they do.
Each child is paired with a mentor. The two start the day grooming the horse, a task that requires tenacity, perseverance, and most importantly, building trust with the horse.
Turn it around, get right into the deep corner, turn the hook around.
Getting a 2,000-pound animal to listen to a child is challenging, but that's the point. These kids have never believed in themselves, until now. Maggie's mother, Dee Dee, says she sees a huge change in her daughter.
She cannot be manipulative with a horse. She cannot fly into a rage to get the horse to do what she wants. So she has had to learn how to just be calm and at peace. And it has helped her tremendously. When I adopted her out of foster care 4 years ago, she had something called reactive attachment disorder, which is caused by severe abuse and neglect. So she was extremely violent, argumentative, defiant, manipulative.
Dee Dee did her research and discovered horse therapy did wonders with kids like Maggie.
I am just so thrilled that a horse has done more for her than any therapist has ever done for her. She is not as defiant anymore. She hasn't had an outburst in anger in 2 years.
Once they groom their horses, the kids head to the arena for the day's lesson.
We're going to go to a bucket, and mentors, I want you to take your child to each bucket, and they have to draw a card out of the bucket, okay? And there might be a truth on it, or there might be a lie on it. And you have to decide whether you're going to accept it and own it, or leave it.
Every lesson is designed to build self-esteem.
Awesome. All right. Ooh, none are facing up. I love it.
You have a pretty smile.
You have a pretty smile. You accept it. Why do you accept this?
Because I do have a pretty smile.
You do have a pretty smile.
The horse is there to keep them honest.
If they don't acknowledge it and they work with the horse, then the horse is like, you're lying. Something's wrong.
At Raining Grace, it's not just the kids who need to be rescued.
So we'll sometimes have horses that come from a very abusive history of neglect. It could be neglect, it could be abuse, it could be a myriad of things. But and our kids come from similar things like that. And when they come together here, everything is perfect. So they learn that they're not damaged. They have a chance to become something bigger.
And after years of feeling not good enough, it's a welcome lesson for these kids.
I'm proud about how much I have improved. When I'm on the horse, it feels like I plug into the horse. I mean, it's just really nice. You really connect. You can feel the horses breathing. You can feel their heartbeat. It's just amazing.
It's telling those kids that if this is what you want to be, then that's what you can do. You just have to put your mind to it, and you are worthy, and you are important.
Raining Grace also works with law enforcement and soldiers who have PTSD. If you would like more information on Raining Grace, visit their website. The address is on the screen.
We want to hear from you. Submit your questions, comments, and concerns via email at arizonahorizon@asu.edu.
Wednesday on Arizona Horizon, it's our weekly update of state legislative activity, and get caught up on issues from south of the Gila in our monthly feature, Southern Exposure. That's at 5:30 and 10 on the next Arizona Horizon. I'm Steve Goldstein in for Ted Simons. Have a great night.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.